When I finish a JRPG that I really connected with, I inevitably feel a sense of sadness. JRPGs require dozens and dozens of hours to finish, allowing you to immerse yourself in their respective worlds and stories, and to become attached to their characters. Unlike so many other games, you spend a ton of time with titles in this genre, and it's hard not to feel a connection to the special ones. That's why it was such a pleasure to be able to go back to Olympias and Riza Maxia in Tales of Xillia 2. Replete with a litany of familiar locations and characters, Xillia 2 is a literal continuation of the original. Though some might see it as a bit of a rehash, I see it as a worthwhile excuse to spend another 40 hours or so with a fun story and a cast of characters I truly enjoy. For starters, Tales of Xillia 2 should absolutely not be played without having first beaten Tales of Xillia itself. The sequel takes place a year after the original, and you'll be completely lost without requisite foreknowledge of events and characters from the first game. If you have that knowledge though, playing Tales of Xillia 2 will be like listening to a great album you've heard 1,000 times. This is an adventure made for those of us who spent quality time with the first Xillia, and it's flooded with welcome fan service and nods to the original everywhere you look. That may be frustrating to some, but I found it largely endearing. It allows Xillia 2 to skip formalities and get its hooks into players from the get-go. What's different this time around is the plot, an interesting story woven around feats of interdimensional time travel. While the original cast returns, the primary protagonist is a young man named Luger Kresnik, who becomes the conduit through which you experience everyone else's story. Rather than playing two intimately intertwined campaigns like in the original, Luger must pick between two options during conversations, in turn building or ruining camaraderie with those that surround him. And its sequel so reminiscent of the original, this system represents a nice change of pace. I just wish Luger wasn't so quiet. He's not literally the silent protagonist, but he's pretty damn close, and the design intent behind this seems unclear. For nearly 2 decades, Tales' combat and mechanics have set the series apart from its contemporaries, and Tales of Xillia 2 is certainly no different. Like other Tales games, it's heavily action-based, shying away from turn-based combat and embracing a fighting game light approach. As usual, magic attacks called arts are at the center of the fray, but there are twists in the formula, such as linking together with other characters during battle to execute special attacks. Fighting seems chaotic and frenetic at first, but it slowly begins to make sense, and one of the greatest things about combat in Xillia 2, like other Tales games, is how deeply customizable it is. Assisting with customization is a new character building system called the Allium Orb, which replaces the original's Ilium Orb. I'm not as crazy about this change because it replaces some of the truly deep customization from the original with something more akin to the Esper system from Final Fantasy VI. Devices slowly teach you spells and skills the more you fight with them equipped. It's a satisfying system in its own right, though it makes Xillia 2 a little micromanagey when added to the equipment, skills, and other things to monitor. 2 new additions I adore, however, both have to do with side quests. For more basic fetch and hunt quests, there's a contract system in place that lets you earn lots of money, something that'll be necessary to pay back the massive debt you incur at the beginning of your journey. On the other side are far longer, multi-chaptered, character-centric side quests you can undertake with all of your party members. These quests give players a reason to get to know each character while exploring all of Olympias and Riza Maxia outside of the main arc, giving Tales of Xillia 2 a feeling of real substance and depth. Tales of Xillia 2 is a direct continuation of Tales of Xillia in the most literal of ways, and that couldn't make me any happier. That sense of sadness I got when I beat the original was replaced with dozens of more hours of fun in familiar locations with familiar characters, all painted within the context of a powerful new story. While an abundance of reused assets makes Xillia and Xillia 2 virtually indistinguishable from one another, I see it as a way to cut through the formalities and deliver players back to a familiar place, a place they already know, love, and need no new introduction to. Tales of Xillia 2 is just 40 or so more hours of Tales of Xillia, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. For more on all things JRPG, keep attuned to IGN. And now, let's battle.
Yes, let's hurry! I'm counting on you, Muse! Leave it to me, although you may want to get out of the way. Through the dark abyss, bring charge!